welcome back to the Kuhner Report. Hour 3, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. It's now 8:05 here on AM 680 WRKO and on 93.7 HD2. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. And, of course, you can always text us. Our text line, 680-680. All right, now you know why. You want another reason of the hundreds and hundreds of reasons why you need to show up at the rally this Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the steps of the State House to free Justina Pelletier and to finally rein in this out-of-control Department of Children and Families. Here's another one. And I got to tell you, it's getting to the point now where it's beyond shocking, and it's beyond disgusting, and it's beyond outrageous. It's getting to the point now where it's perverse, where it's becoming a moral stain upon the People's Republic of Massachusetts. We are now becoming a national and in some ways an international laughingstock. And before I get into the guts of the story, I want to give a major shout out to the Boston Herald for covering all of these corruption scandals at the DCF, these abuse scandals, and in particular two reporters, Aaron Smith and Matt Stout. How they do not win the Pulitzer for this is beyond me, because this is some of the finest investigative journalism I've seen in many years. And believe me, at the Times, I had some of the best reporters in the country working for me. Here is now the absolute latest stunning bombshell. It goes from bad to worse. I don't know. I may have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you're going to pull your hair out. Okay, according to Walpole Police, there is a major DCF foster care contractor. They're known as the Little Wanderers, Home for Little Wanderers. They basically are under the watch of DCF. They are there to take care of foster care children. That's their job. That's their mission. They're given a contract by DCF. In fact, the Home for Little Wanderers received, just so that you know, $16.2 million in taxpayer dollars last year alone. Just last year alone, out of our pockets, 16.2 mil went towards the Home for the Little Wanderers. And at their campus on Walpole, 2 weeks ago, allegedly, a 13-year-old boy sexually assaulted and raped, allegedly, a 9-year-old boy. A boy was allegedly assaulted sexually and raped. He was 9, for God's sakes. 9. According to the Deputy Chief of Walpole Police, John Carmichael, the Walpole law enforcement authorities are absolutely livid, saying, again, DCF tried to cover up these disturbing, grisly allegations. Again, a child's allegations were swept away by DCF. And so, according to the Walpole Police and according to Deputy Chief John Carmichael, the Home for the Little Wanderers did not report this alleged sexual assault and rape to the police. In fact, they refused to report it to the police because they didn't want them to investigate. Instead, this poor boy was brought to a hospital in Norwood, where a social worker at the hospital in Norwood saw what was happening to this little boy as they were checking him out. And he was undergoing a rape kit. And she found out he's at this foster care system, this foster care home, a Home for Little Wanderers, under the care of DCF, under the supervision of DCF, and this social worker was the one who called the Walpole Police. Had it not been for this social worker at the Norwood Hospital, the police never would have known that this poor little boy had been raped. The police are beside themselves. Deputy Chief Carmichael is like, you're covering up a rape. And furthermore, Carmichael says in today's Herald, in the story by Aaron Smith and Matt Stout, that obviously the first concern should be for the kids, the safety of the kids. And not only this boy that was allegedly raped, but if this 13-year-old did it to that boy, he's likely or possibly doing it to other boys. And according to the Walpole Police, so far this year, they have gone to that home for little wanderers about 85 times. They keep getting complaints about abuse, about violence, about mistreatment, about all sorts of shenanigans and abuse and abuses taking place. And so they're trying to cover up the fact that they can't control these people and these kids at this home for little wanderers, which apparently deal with kids with behavioral problems. This is the same DCF that dismissed the claims of an 11-year-old child back in January. This child said that they were raped under the care and supervision of DCF. And what was DCF's response? I swear to you, quote, it was consensual, unquote. How the hell does an 11-year-old kid have consensual sex? According to the geniuses at DCF. Jeremiah Oliver is gone. 5 years old. He was innocent. The only one that was innocent in all of this was Jeremiah Oliver. Not the neglectful and abusive mother. Not the neglectful and abusive boyfriend. Not the social workers at DCF who refused to even visit this kid and neglected him for months and months on end after they knew he was being abused. After they knew that he was getting beaten black and blue, day after day, week after week. That boy is gone. He was found stuffed in a suitcase. Just a couple weeks ago in Weymouth, a young baby dead under the care of DCF. Before that, Bailey Irish, beautiful little baby, dead. Before that, another baby, 30 days old, barely 1 month old, dead. They're dropping literally, they're dropping like flies. You've got kids dying, kids missing, kids unaccounted for, kids being raped and sexually assaulted, 11 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, some of them 7, 6 years old. And rather than doing anything about it, it's like the VA. Sweep it under the rug. Cover it up. Pretend nothing is going on wrong here. And what do? Like Olga Roche. She got a bonus. They give themselves bonuses. Glowing performance reviews. I'm doing a phenomenal job. 2 kids died under my watch this week, but hey, it could have been 3. I think I'm due for, make it an even 6,000. You know what? I need that flat screen television. My wife's been on my back about it. Give me a nice, $6,000. $6,000 bonus. Olga Roche is still being kept on, God is my witness, as a quote-unquote consultant until August. What, the consultant? When you have 9-year-old kid being raped by 13-year-old boy, don't tell police. No, it's no good. If you tell police, then media find out. And if media find out, well, like me, you lose job. And no good to lose job. Well, I still get money, but it's not as I don't have my car. I used to have nice chauffeur car. Now, no chauffeur car. Another child's allegations of sexual assault and rape are now being covered up and swept away by DCF, this time in Walpole. Now, the question I have to ask, because no one else seems to have the guts to ask it, how many more of our kids are we willing to sacrifice to this arrogant, out of control, corrupt agency and bureaucracy? How many? And when they finally pulled the trigger and got rid of Olga Roche, what did I say? I said this is only the tip of the iceberg, because the corruption is systemic. The corruption is rampant. It's all across the leadership of DCF. It goes to the one-party Democratic mafia state. It goes all the way up to Marsha Coakley and up to Mini-Me. Because this state politically is rotten to its core. You know it, I know it, and the people who actually read or pay any attention, they know it. Now, objectively, just stand back for a second. Let's not look at this through the lens of a Republican or a Democrat, conservative or liberal. Just objectively. $300 million squandered on the drug lab scandal. Thousands of convicted criminals released onto our streets. 64 people dead at the New England Compounding Center scandal. 64 dead. You have a probation department that is so riddled with cronyism and nepotism. Everybody who's politically connected is aunt, uncle, first cousin, brother-in-law, second cousin, nephew, niece is getting a $40, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year job. The Department of Children and Families has now overseen under this administration nearly 140 dead or missing children, never mind dozens sexually raped and assaulted, many of them as young as 9, 8, 7 years of age. Children being molested and raped. All of it covered up. Nobody being held accountable. It was like pulling teeth to get him even to fire Mini-Me, to fire Olga Roche. And look how he fought it tooth and nail. And he still kept her on as a consultant. Basically, it was August, but basically should have done it for 2 more months and take it all the way to November. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? And all these libs, I see them with their Priuses. I'm telling you, they're in my parking lot here. I guess they all work at WGBH with their little Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, Deval Patrick, all their little silly, little stupid little bumper stickers. And they're so proud to be these progressives and libs. You're waging a war on children. It's not safe to be a child in this state. If you're under DCF, all I do is cross myself. Pray for, oh God, please, please, I need an intervention. Save that child from DCF. Justina Pelletier. This Saturday, she will be 16 years of age. For the last 16 months, she has been effectively kidnapped by the Department of Children and Families. Because her parents disagreed with the diagnosis of Boston Children's, they preferred the diagnosis of Tufts Medical Center. For disagreeing with the medical diagnosis, their daughter, who suffers from mitochondrial disease, has been neglected and essentially tortured by state officials here at DCF and at Health and Human Services. She's going to die. And like this 9-year-old boy who got raped, no one is hearing her pleas. She wants to leave. She wants to be with her mother and her father. She's lost movement in her legs. She's lost it now for months because of the neglectful treatment that she's been getting. Her parents are honestly fearing that their child now may be permanently paralyzed. I am issuing a challenge to every single one of you in the audience to every single person in this state. Who do your children belong to? You, the parents, or the government? How the hell can DCF keep doing this to our kids? Torturing, state sanctioning the molestation and rape of our children, covering it up, until we say enough is enough. On Saturday at 2 o'clock, why am I spearheading this rally? Why am I sponsoring this rally? It's Memorial Day weekend. Let me be candid with you. I'm tired. This is not an easy job. I could use the day off, believe me. Believe me, I could use the day off. This is for my Ashton. This is for my Ava. This is not just for Justina, although obviously it is. There is a war going on. This out-of-control, arrogant liberal regime thinks they own your body, they think they own your paycheck, they think they own your wallet, and now they honestly think they own your kids. And somewhere, somehow, you can't keep running. You can't keep dodging. You can't say to yourself, I'll turn the other way. Another corruption scandal. Somewhere along the way, we have to make a stand. Somewhere along the way, we have to draw a line in the sand. And tell these out-of-control, power-hungry, arrogant, corrupt progressives, here and no further. To DCF, to Health and Human Services Secretary, that thug Polanowitz, and to you, Mini-Me. It's time that DCF was dismantled. It's time they were reined in. It's time heads rolled. It's time we protected our children. This Saturday at 2 p.m., please join me for the rally to save Justina Pelletier, and let's finally put a dagger into the heart of this corrupt DCF system.
You don't have to waste your at-work listening on mind-numbing music stations. Feed your brain.
Self-employed, I'll listen to talk radio all the time.
AM 680, WRKO.
Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 825 here on the great WRKO. Front page story in today's Boston Herald. A 9-year-old boy was allegedly raped at the Home for Little Wanderers campus in Walpole. They tried to sweep it under the rug. Another scandal at DCF. When is enough going to be enough? What should we do about DCF? Honestly, I think it's time just to get rid of the whole thing. Let's privatize foster care and privatize caring for the most vulnerable kids in our society. That's where I am right now. Let private institutions do it. DCF is obviously incompetent. Is it time to finally get rid of DCF? Ryan, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome. Hello, Ryan. Ryan, did we lose Ryan? Okay. Paul, you're up next on WRKO. Shoot, Paul.
Jeff.
Hey, Paul.
This state and this country, just before our eyes, we're just seeing self-destruction. It's so rotten with corruption. And what's so sad is I just see people like you see them with their bumper stickers, Elizabeth Warren, Deval Patrick, Obama, Obamacare. They have their headphones. They walk around with their little computer in their hand. And they're just so detached. It's almost like, do you need violence or some type of exploitation to actually come right into your home to realize how much people are actually hurting? People are basically just saying, as long as I get mine, I have my security, job security, I have my home out in the suburbs, as long as I'm not affected, I don't get involved. And this complacency and apathy, that's a disease too. We have a lack of leadership at just about every institution. You know, whether it's in the church, whether it's government, business, education, etc. I see more bureaucrats who are ballless. They don't have the courage to confront evil. And that's the disease of liberals. They don't admit that evil exists. Rape is evil, and it can't be negotiated with. You have to eradicate the earth of rapists. pedophiles. You don't seek treatment for them. Just one kid abused is going to be suffering for the rest of his life. So we need to get back to the old World War II Depression era people who just have common sense. They don't have these PhDs and try to figure out why this person behaved in an evil fashion.
Very well said, Paul. We are facing today a moral crisis. That's what's permeating. You want to understand America and really the West. It is a moral crisis. The fruits of the 60s have now come back to haunt us. Now, I want you to think about how bad things are. Okay, here. This is straight from the Walpole Deputy Police Chief, John Carmichael. Okay? This is what's going on at the Walpole campus of the Home for Little Wanderers. This is under DCF's watch. This is all under DCF. Okay? I'm reading to you straight from the Herald. Quote, Carmichael said his officers have responded to the facility 85 times, my God, since October for ambulance calls, runaways, assault, and battery reports and disturbances, and reported at least a dozen separate cases, of suspected abuse to DCF. In most instances, Carmichael said the facility was uncooperative. Just like, okay, blank you. Our kids are being raped, blank you. Our kids are running away, blank you. In one instance, according to Carmichael, local authorities learned about a 14-year-old boy's allegations of a sexual assault. So this poor boy says he was sexually assaulted. Check this out. Did DCF do anything? Yet. Did the Home for Little Wanderers do anything? Yet. Did anybody do anything? Yet. Only after the boy's mother showed up at the police department to report the incident on February 3rd. Nobody at boy got raped. Little Wanderers, we're not filing a report. DCF, we're not filing a report. All right. So you won't protect the kids. They're dying under your watch. They're missing under your watch. Maybe I know why they're missing, because they're running away. Because either they're being murdered or they're being sexually assaulted or raped. And you won't protect and take care of the kids? What good are you to me? Notice, it's what Sly said earlier. They're in the business to sustain themselves and line their pockets. With our money, by the way. 617-266-6868. Clean up the DCF now. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 8:37 here on the great WRKO. So, you have the VA scandal. You have what we have occurring here with DCF. Multiple, constant, almost a scandal a day at the DCF. You have Obamacare being rammed down our throats. You have a government in Washington led by the dear leader in cahoots with Mini-Me here in Massachusetts that is taking away our freedoms and our liberties day by day by day. And I've been saying for a long time that Obama is essentially a Marxist. If you look at his background, if you look at his mentors, if you look at his father, if you look at his education, if you look at his own autobiographies, if you look at his actions in the White House, this man is clearly an anti-colonial radical socialist. He is what I would call a soft communist. He's not going door to door murdering people with a bullet in the head, but let's put it this way. He's assaulting our freedoms. He's assaulting the Constitution. He's assaulting the very foundations of this country. Now, many of you have been saying for a long time, Jeff, come on now. You sound like a right-wing extremist, Jeff. Teabagger, hostage taker. This is KKK. This is very scared, Jeff. This is so exaggerating. Okay. This is not me. Democratic congressman from Florida, Joe Garcia, who, by the way, became semi-famous. I don't know if you know, many of you may have heard about this. Last week, he was caught on camera picking his ear, and then he grabbed a lot of, like a chunk of earwax, And then he looked left and he looked right and he said, hey, nobody's looking. And he literally stuck the earwax in his mouth and he ate it. So he was caught eating his own earwax on camera. But let that go. Now Joe Garcia has been caught red-handed, or maybe is it yellow-fingered? I don't know exactly how I should phrase this. In another gaffe this week. He's talking about all of the money that he says allegedly has been poured to help bolster security along the border states. And all of these federal immigration workers, that you have all these people from ICE, that they're throwing all these people at these border cities. And he says, guess what? In his view, crime is down. Crime in these border cities are just, they're plummeting. And you see, when you hire government workers, the more government workers you have. And he says, hey, look at El Paso, Texas. It's so safe. Look at these other border cities. It's so safe. Not only does he say big government works, not only does he say progressivism works, literally, he lets the cat out of the bag. What are we about? Communism. What works? Communism. Don't take my word for it. Here is Democratic Congressman from Florida, Joe Garcia, talking about just how wonderful communism is under the dear leader. Roll it, Britain.
It's when you attract people that you are the dominant culture, that people want to emulate and copy what you're doing because it works. And in America, we are doing a huge disservice to ourselves by not understanding how powerful of a driver in the economy an immigration system that works can be. And continues to be, and by not having an immigration system that works. And let me give you an example of the kind of money we poured in. So the most dangerous, the safest city in America is El Paso, Texas. It happens to be across the border from the most dangerous city in the Americas, which is Juarez, right? Yeah. And two of the safest cities in America, two of them are on the border with Mexico. And of course, the reason it is, we've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime. But that isn't what we should be doing on the border. The amount of money that we've poured into there, and we're having a diminishing return. So while we're spending all this money here, we have border problems in Puerto Rico, where we haven't been able to set up a system that's safe there, and people are finding alternative routes.
We've proven that communism works? Okay, so, So, there you have it. There you have it. You want the smoking gun? There's the smoking gun. Now, notice, the longer the dear leader's in power, look how they reveal themselves more and more and more about what their true agenda is. Oh, look at this. We're hiring all of these federal workers. It's working. The border cities have never been safer. First of all, talk to the people in El Paso, okay? They'll tell you their city is not safe. Talk to the people in Arizona, the southern part of Arizona. The place is a war zone. What is this guy talking about? The border states are being overrun by illegal immigrants. Crime hasn't gone down. It's exploded. They're laughing their rear ends off in Texas at this guy, saying, seriously, how badly informed can you be? But that's not the issue. Forget the propaganda on immigration and how safe apparently our border states are. Communism works? Are you insane? Really, seriously, are you insane? Communism killed 100 million people in the 20th century alone. Stalin, 20 million. Mao, 40 million. Pol Pot, 6 million. Regime after regime after regime. Everywhere communism has been established, the people suffer, the people are impoverished, and the people are sent into prisons and gulags and to their death. Misery goes wherever communism reigns. And now they're bragging about establishing it here in the United States? But look, think about it. What has been happening over the last 5.5 years? It's communism. It's creeping communism. The VA is a socialistic single-payer system. People are dying. Obamacare. Millions of people's premiums through the roof. Mine, $4,100. People losing their health policies by the millions. The destruction of the American dollar. The nationalization of many of the banks. The takeover of GM and Chrysler. Nearly an $18 trillion debt. 92 million Americans out of the workforce. 23 million unemployed or underemployed. Our border literally porous, everybody coming in across the border. This country is slowly being destroyed by a communist ideology being perpetrated by the Marxist in chief. Government is controlling more and more aspects of our lives. We can't even make a phone call now without wondering whether the government is listening or spying on us. The First Amendment, gone. The Second Amendment, under assault. The Fourth Amendment, gone. The 10th Amendment, gone. And now, when they're on video, they openly brag about it. They're openly telling us, yeah, it's communism, and it works. And you know what's the kicker? This guy's parents fled communist Cuba. Joe Garcia is an American of communist descent. Hey, Joe, open your eyes and take a look. You're in South Florida, I assume? Just look right across and look at that island 90 miles away. That's what Castro, that island prison, that's what he's established. And you want that here, Joe? If you ever need more proof that liberalism is a mental disorder, this is it. This should be the concluding point. This guy, whose parents fled communist Cuba, wants communism here in America. Only a liberal. 617-266-6868. Joining us now, coffee with the great Boston's talk radio legend, Howie Carr. Howie, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Jeff.
Howie, been reading some of your columns lately. Apparently you've been following the trial, the Hackorama trial. Howie, what's the latest on that score?
It's just, it's like the judges thought they were going to, emerge as white hats and get all these probation jobs, but now this thing has turned into trench warfare. It's like the World War I of the Hackorama, You just, one batch of hacks just, runs into a machine gun nest, and then the other side of hacks runs in and they get decimated. I mean, it's really hilarious if you're, if you're not a hack. I mean, yesterday they brought up a probation officer who had been convicted last year of witness tampering, and he had been on trial before Judge Tim Hillman, and Tim Hillman gave him probation, which seems like kind of a slap on the wrist for witness tampering. But then I said, Hillman, that name rings a bell, and I got on my witness list, and I suddenly realized Tim Hillman, who was presiding over a probation department trial, is on the government's witness list because he tried to get 22 hacks jobs at the probation department and the trial court. And he's ruling about whether this other hack should be going to jail. It's just amazing the way these people are all connected. They have one guy who said he used to make out he would go to his job interviews, these phony job interviews that they had, before they'd give it to some rep's girlfriend or something. And so he was writing everything in pencil, and then he realized, hey, wait a second, I don't know what they're doing with these reports after they leave my hands. I'm going to start writing them in pen so I don't have to worry about getting called to the witness stand someday. That's what he's saying. He's like, 15 years ago he was worried about this day arriving where he would be in the witness stand under oath. And so he gives them the sheets with everything in ink, and they say, hey, pal, what's up with this ink you're using? Go back to pencils. Just confirming his suspicion, of course, that they were changing everything when the reports came in. I mean, this has nothing to do with, justice or overseeing criminals who paid their debt to society. I mean, this is just all about getting. There was another guy too. He was the son and grandson of judges. He was testifying yesterday. It's like he's 34 years old. He's a junkie, and he's like perplexed that he's become the poster boy for the hackorama. He was a junkie, and he came to these interviews, and his hands were shaking, and he was sweating profusely and staring off into space. Gee, do you think maybe they could figure out something was wrong with the guy? He said, I just would like to make it clear for the record that I didn't start using heroin until after I got my job at the probation department. I guess he was finally able to, upgrade the heroin once he was making a larger salary there.
Now, Howie, I got to ask you, somebody who's covered state politics really for decades, and nobody knows it better than you do, has the corruption, in your view, gotten worse as time has gone by?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was at, what we'd all say was a real height in 1989, 1990 after Dukakis lost the presidential election and he lost interest. And, Billy Bulger was basically running the show, and, they busted up Whitey's gang of coke dealers, and there were 50 of them arrested, and I think 45 of them had hack jobs in the state. I mean, that was bad. But I really think that with Deval Patrick, it's worse because it's, you not only have, the hackorama and the wasted money and, that sort of thing, but you have deaths, people are dying under this corruption. The compounding center pharmacy that killed 64 people, Annie Ducan letting, her perjury, letting drug dealers go free, and then they're returning to the streets to kill people, these DCF, problems. I mean, now you have this big, home for troubled youth in Walpole. If they have an allegation of sexual assault, they don't call 911. They call DCF. I mean, I'm not knowing what I know about DCF, knowing what we all know about DCF. The DCF's job is not going to be to leave no stone unturned. It's going to be to get a stone right on top of the scandal, so that nobody knows what's going on. I think it's worse now than it's ever been, even worse than Dukakis the last years.
Howie, you touched on something I want to ask you about. Your paper today just has a brilliant story, bombshell. So now another DCF scandal, this time involving a 9-year-old boy who was allegedly assaulted and raped. And basically, the Walpole deputy chief is saying we wouldn't have heard about it had it not been for a social worker at the Norwood Hospital. So again, they're sweeping these allegations under the rug. Howie, what do we need to do to finally clean things up at DCF?
Well, Jeff, I thought that all these social workers and physicians, people in the emergency rooms, I thought they were mandated reporters. That means you have to report these kinds of incidents. Obviously, the woman in Norwood did report the incident, but I mean, why can't they bring charges against these people if they didn't report the incident? I mean, I don't think reporting it to the DCF covers your rear end. I mean, you have to report it to the law enforcement authorities. DCF is not a law enforcement agency. I think they have to start, wholesale firings in that agency. I know it's a tough job, and many people that work at DCF say that Deval has not added any workers, or he's reduced the budget because he needs more money for Auntie Tatoonis of the world, and their EBT cards and their mass health cards for Nicholas Guman.
And it's Taj Deval, Howie. Don't forget that one. The $9 million for his office.
Yeah, $9 million for his office. I can't. What you can get for? I mean, look on one of the internet real estate sites and see what you can get for a house for $9 million. I mean, you can go to the richest communities in the nation, and you can get a mansion for $9 million, and he's going to spend that on his office. It's astounding. He doesn't care. He does, and he's going on another junket. And then last week he goes down and gets interviewed by Reverend Al Sharpton. Oh, that shows he's a serious person, doesn't it?
Howie, before I let you go, buddy, Are you doing any public events, any book signings, so people can go and see you and meet you in person?
Yes, if you're in the Worcester area, I'm on tomorrow night. I will be at Hanover Theater for a Night of Crime. That's my presentation of the Whitey Bulger trial. We have all new pictures, all new stories. I'll be there with Anthony Amore from the Isabel Stewart Gardner Museum. You can order your tickets at HowieCarShow.com, HowieCarShow.com, Friday night, tomorrow night. Good way to start off the Memorial Day weekend.
We have been talking with Boston's talk radio legend, the great Howie Carr. Howie, as usual, dynamite stuff, and thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
Okay, thanks.
Have a great weekend,
Bye-bye.
Howie. Take care. 617-266-6868. My friends, more with your calls after this short break. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. My friends, I'm up against it, but coming up next, Democratic Congressman Joe Garcia says communism works and it's working in America under Obama. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We'll have that debate and discussion as well. The Marine trapped in a jail in Mexico has now been called up, I kid you not, to serve. The problem is he's still in jail. And we send 80 of our troops to rescue girls in Nigeria. What about rescuing our Marine? I've got that story. Don't touch that dial. 9 o'clock. Let's take it to Angela in the newsroom.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
We shout it and we proclaim it, and this causes people to lose their minds.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, Hour 4. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 9:06 here on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. This Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m., the Kuhner Report is sponsoring a major rally to free Justina Pelletier. I hope as many of you can make it. Please, we need your support. The family needs your support. Justina needs your support. It's going to be her 16th birthday this very Saturday. Let's give her a big birthday gift and have her home as soon as possible. She needs as many of us to show up as possible. My friends, we had the interview with Howie. Obviously, we always have coffee with Howie Carr. So I didn't get a chance to really flesh out that stunning statement, which basically was just letting the cat out of the bag, where you now have Democratic Congressman from Florida, Representative Joe Garcia, talking about hiring all of these federal immigration workers along the border states and saying, look, it's driven down the crime rate. Crime rate is down everywhere. El Paso, Texas is the safest city in America. Yeah, right. Talk to people in El Paso, but let that go. What's important is that now, with a true radical progressive in the White House, the Democrats and the libs are now finally starting to show their true colors. At their heart, this is no longer your father or grandfather's Democratic Party. This is the Socialist Party of America. What's important, and what I find incredible, this is the son of Cuban immigrants who fled Castro's communist island prison. And he says, quote, communism works? Let me replay the cut. Roll it. Britney.
It's when you attract people that you are the dominant culture, that people want to emulate and copy what you're doing because it works. And in America, we are doing a huge disservice to ourselves by not understanding how powerful of a driver in the economy an immigration system that works can be. And continues to be, and by not having an immigration system that works. And let me give you an example of the kind of money we poured in. So the safest city in America is El Paso, Texas. It happens to be across the border from the most dangerous city in the Americas, which is Juarez, right?
Yeah.
And two of the safest cities in America, two of them are on the border with Mexico. And of course, the reason it is, we've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime.
Stop it right there.
What we should be doing on the
Stop
border.
it right there. Stop it right there. There it is. He revealed himself and he revealed the Democrats. The reason is we've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime.
And of course, the reason it is, we've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime.
Okay, so Washington, D.C., almost everybody has a government job. The crime rate is record high. Okay, just to show you how ridiculous, how frankly stupid his statement is. But here, let's cut to the heart of the matter. Under the old Soviet Union, that's why these lib progressives who call him, Obama's doing such a great job. The dear leader, unemployment is 6.3%. Yeah, because people have given up looking for work, but let that go. Under the old Soviet Union, you know what the unemployment rate was? 5%? Yet. 3%? Yet. Jeff, no, 1%? Yet. Unemployment in the Soviet Union was 0%. Here, where my ancestors come from, where my parents come from, former Yugoslavia, communism under Tito, unemployment rate 0. Under Mao, unemployment 0. In Cuba, today, unemployment rate 0. Everybody's got a government job because the government controls and owns everything. Literally, everybody has a government job. And the misery is everywhere. Poverty is everywhere. Long lines everywhere. And if you speak, by the way, every corruption, that's what you see in Benghazi, that's what you see at the IRS, that's what you see at the VA, like you're seeing at DCF. Whenever there was any corruption, it was always covered up. And when anybody ever spoke out, they were destroyed. The media was in the back pocket of the regime, like today with the mainstream media. The government spied on you, like today with the NSA. Journalists were spied on, like today. The only thing they haven't done yet is round people up into concentration camps. Already, though, you're seeing the demonization of the opposition. That's what communists do. They're subhuman. They're scum. They're less than fully human. You're seeing it now. Teabaggers, extremists, hostage takers, suicide bombers, KKK, right-wing extremists, wink, wink, wink. Basically, they're fascists. They're Klan. So if you kill the Klan, who cares? Because they're Klan. They're white supremacist scum. The indoctrination of the people. And you take more and more of their money, you tax them more and more, you consolidate more and more power. And before you know it, it's gone. Your freedoms, your liberties, your standard of living, everything is gone. And for this man, the son of Cuban immigrants who fled communism, who fled Castro, who fled the jails and the prisons, and the complete failure, the economic basket case that is Cuba today, to stand here and say, oh, communism works, you give people a job, there's no crime. No, you give people government jobs, there's crime everywhere. DCF, crime after crime. Probation Department, crime after crime. NSA, crime after crime. VA, crime after crime. But notice, this is the key point. In the progressive Marxist worldview, if you work for the state, it's noble and virtuous. Inherently, it's just a noble, virtuous thing. But if you work for the dreaded private sector, for capitalism, as they used to pronounce it in Eastern Europe, if you work for capitalism, then it's bad. Because then you see, that's greedy, that's self-interested. Really? Deval Patrick is not greedy? Obama, who's now worth $15 million, is not greedy? Elizabeth Warren, who's worth millions of dollars, flipping houses, lying about her background, claiming to be a phony Indian to make $350,000 a year to teach one course, she's not greedy? John Kerry, who married a woman for her money, is not greedy? They're now telling us they're communists. It's no longer Jeff Kuhner. Now they're starting to come out of the woodwork. They're so confident. They're so arrogant. They're now telling us we're communists and it works. America, wake up before it's too late. 617-266-6868. Does communism work? And now have the Democrats finally revealed themselves? You've heard the congressman, Democrat from Florida, on the record. What say you, Boston? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Bill, you're up next on the great WRKO, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you, Bill?
Jeff, that guy Garcia there, he was just making a joke. You heard him laughing at the end. It was a joke.
Play it again, Brittany.
He was making a joke.
The reason it is, we've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime. But that isn't what we should be doing on the border. The kind of money that we've poured into there.
He was making a joke. He was laughing.
He was serious. He was serious as a heart attack.
No, he wasn't.
Bill, listen, look, enough is enough with you. Honestly, you liberals are lying, and you're lying through your teeth, and enough is enough.
Why are you lying?
Don't tell me. Hold on. No, because you keep hiding your real agenda and your real goals. Because you know if the American people found out what people like you are really about, that we would vote every single one of you out of office. So when you're exposed, when you're caught red-handed, you guys lie. He wasn't joking. He was serious. I didn't see him being sarcastic. I didn't see him yucking it up. He was dead serious.
At the end of the conversation, he was laughing. I mean, come on, you can hear it.
I don't know what planet you're living on.
And Jeff, you call everybody a Marxist or a communist to agree with you.
No, I call people Marxists and communists who are Marxists and communists.
The thing is,
here, let me give you some more. Hold on, Bill. Let me give you some more statistics, okay? Not only has Obama nationalized our health care, not only has he nationalized the big banks, now it's too big to fail. Not only did he take over car companies, okay, I could go on and on and on. Not only has this man expanded government like no one else before, we now have, these are recent government statistics, 11 million Americans are now on disability. 11 million. That's the size of a European country. 11 million. What is it now? Suddenly everybody's got a bad back? You don't like that statistic? Okay. In the state of Massachusetts, 850,000 people are now on EBT cards. Almost a million. That's a major city. You don't like that one? Okay. 47, hold on. One more, Bill. Easy. 47% of the unemployed now in a recent poll admitted that they have given up looking for work. You know why? Because they say if I count my food stamps, and I count my public housing, and I count my welfare, and I count my EBT, and I count all the revenue that I get from the government, from us the taxpayers, on the public teat, it's $52,000 to $55,000. So why should I work? I don't want to work $10, $12, $14 an hour. Now you tell me, how is this not communism?
Jeff, people are poor. They're on food stamps so they can feed themselves. Not everybody is gaming the system.
Oh, a lot of people are, and this is the point. This is the point. What you Marxists, what you progressives want to do is you want to get people addicted to government. There are now record numbers of people on food stamps, record numbers of people on welfare, record numbers, hold on, put them down, record numbers of people on disability. So which way is it, Bill? You keep telling me Obama's doing a phenomenal job on the economy, that there are more jobs now than ever. Well, if so many people are working and the economy is booming, how come so many people are on welfare and food stamps? You can't have it both ways.
Because, Jeff, we're still digging our way out of the recession. Bush.
Right? Bush.
Bush.
Thank you. Bye. You see? And that's what the communists did. They always blamed Tsarist Russia. Lenin blamed Tsarist Russia. Stalin blamed Tsarist Russia. Khrushchev blamed Tsarist Russia. Everybody. In other words, you blame somebody for all of the problems being incurred under your administration by your left-wing socialist policies. So now we're 6 years in. Look at them. The record is indisputable. Bush. 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 They did the same thing to Hoover for decades. Hoover, 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 Hoover. You controlled Congress for 2 years, dear leader. Your party's controlled the Senate for nearly 6. You've been in the White House. This is your economy. You own it, and you blew it. 617-266-6868, 921 on the great WRKO. Does communism work? I want to hear from you, Boston. Democrats say yes. I say no. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. 925. My bad. 925 on the great WRKO. Walter, you're up next. Thank you for holding, sir, and welcome.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The fact that an elected official would say something so absurd is almost as unbelievable as our president saying that he through a representative saying that he heard about the VA thing through watching the news. He never says something like that himself, because if push comes to shove, he can always say, I didn't say that, and let the other person be the fall guy. But let that go. If they want to solve the immigration problem of people sneaking over the border, our president has a great dependence on drones. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my solution. He sends armed drones constantly going along the border. When they're sneaking across the border, the drone drops little concussion grenades that won't kill them or just stun them. At the same time, little bomblets are dropped which have notices saying this is a new policy and this isn't going to be tolerated anymore, whatever. When they wake up, they find a little piece of paper that naturally is also written in Spanish. Probably like at the welfare office, it's like 20 different languages that they have it written in. Let's do it that way. 20 different languages.
No, I know. Look, I mean, it's so obvious. Over the last 6 years, what you've seen is the third worldization of America. You want to sum up Obama's presidency? Really, he's turning us into a third world banana republic. The USS of A. We have the debt of a third world country. We have the borders of a third world country. We have the inflation of a third world country. And slowly but surely, we have the welfare rolls of a third world country. We're as lawless now as a third world country. He's El Presidente. So honestly, he's now our new, he is the dear leader. And the only thing missing is a third term. That's it. That's it. Just abolish the Constitution and have a third term. That's about it. But pretty much, he vowed to transform America, and my friends, on this, the dear leader delivered. Bert, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on RKO. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. It's obvious Obama has waged, like, war on the middle class. But who is the middle class? The middle class, actually, if you think about it, is the working class. I mean, what relief has been shown to the workers and themselves? I mean, we got higher property taxes, higher deductibles, insurance deductibles, every kind of a tax on phones, food. So the working class themselves is having a hard time fitting into the Obama world. Anybody living outside these Obama voting blocks is screwed, because there's fewer jobs now, higher taxes on everything, especially the medical. His Obama plan has hurt the medical plan has hurt the working poor with the private insurance companies. Their deductibles are rising. We have less. The misery index is rising from the working class also, of course, to the middle class, which is the enemy of the Obama administration. But even the working class now is suffering. And I think people are going to wake up soon and find out that the rich and the poor are the middle class and the poor are getting busted.
Bert, just to reinforce your point, you're 110% right. Here, I can tell you from a person, I'm a middle-class guy. I am your consummate middle-class guy. I got a wife, 2 kids, a home, and believe me, I put editorial independence before a salary. So I'm not paid as well as other hosts. I'm not complaining. For me, I said I want my editorial independence. That to me is more important than money. So believe me, I'm not swimming in this stuff, okay? Just on Obamacare alone, my premiums have gone up $4,100. They raised my payroll tax last year $2,200. So right off the bat, I'm $6,300 poorer. Right off the bat. Plus you add higher fees, higher gas taxes, higher property taxes. I calculated to Grace, under the dear leader, I am now short $10,000. He has cost me $10,000 in my standard of living. Now, with 2 kids and a wife and a house, that's like a hole in my head. I'm not trying to plead poverty. I'm being honest with you. There's no savings. We go from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And I keep asking my wife, let's put money away for a college fund or whatever for the kids. She goes, Jeff, we eat well. Don't get me wrong. Fruits, vegetables, meat, whatever the kids need, they get. They're well clothed. But outside, you pay your bills, you pay for clothes, you pay for food, you pay for all the basic necessities. I got nothing left over. Now, if I'm getting squeezed, my God, how are the working class making it? So when these idiots call me up and say, oh, things are better under Obama, it's morning again in America, the economy is booming, you don't know what you're talking about. The productive members of this society, the taxpayers, hardworking people of this society, of America, have been victim numero uno under Obama. And it's only going to get worse. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Let's take it to Angela in the newsroom. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 9:40 here on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. The text line, 680-680. The text machine is burning up. This is from 508. Jeff, I'm from Finland. As a young man, we used to go to Russia for cheap vodka and cheap girls. Well, it's going to be like that here pretty soon. Except people are going to come here for the cheap Obama phones. And yeah, cheap girls, don't forget now, lesbians, gays, transsexuals, you want to have fun, this is going to be Party City. We'll be poor, but for everybody else, the American dollar will be worthless. This is from 781. Jeff, I haven't seen a carpentry job in the paper in years. Well, yeah, that's because all the illegals are doing the jobs. No one's going to hire an American now doing carpentry work. It's all for the illegals. That's why big business wants them, because it's cheap labor. That's why the Republicans on Capitol Hill want amnesty. So you don't have a job, but Pablo from Tijuana gets a job. 617-266-6868 is the number. Here's one more text I want to read, and this is sad because it shows what's happening to small business people in this state and sadly increasingly across the country. This is from 978. Jeff, I own a small cafe in North Andover. I've been here for 23 years and have never seen business this slow. There is way more competition and a dwindling customer base, very discouraging. I know. You want to get the economy moving again? Cut spending, rein in the out of control deficits, solidify the American dollar, stop printing money, and start slashing taxes. And before you know it, business is booming, the private sector is surging, money's pouring into the government coffers, people have money in their pockets, people are spending, businesses are investing, businesses are hiring, and we now have what we had in the 80s and 90s. It's not rocket science. Less government means more prosperity. Now, before I take more calls, I have to give you a quick update on that poor Marine who was jailed in Mexico. 25-year-old U.S. Marine Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi now is facing the first order for the first time in his life that he doesn't obey. This is a man who did 2 tours in Afghanistan. He came back with a form of PTSD. He was getting treatment in San Diego. He went out for dinner one night. Basically, he's looking to find a place out there, so his car had all of his belongings, everything, including his 3 registered weapons. And he literally went left instead of right. And so he landed at the Mexican border. And there he was arrested by Mexican Border Patrol agents, A, for violating Mexico's border, and B, because he had 3 registered legal guns in his car. And so they've tossed him into a hellhole, into a prison in Mexico. And this poor sergeant, this poor Marine, is rotting in a jail. He's saying now that there's threats of rape. There's been physical assaults being done on him. He's getting beaten. Apparently he can't eat. The food is garbage. He's wasting away. His mother is desperately trying to free him. The dear leader is doing nothing. The Democrats in the Obama regime, the Obama administration, is doing nothing. Well, now, according to the mother of Sergeant Tamarisi, he's now received an order. It's called an order to muster letter from the Marines telling Sergeant Tamarisi that he has to report to the 4th Civil Affairs Group in Florida on June 14th. He's basically now, at least for a day or couple days, he's got to go to a training session. He's now being called up. He's being called up to go to this training session to see if he's physically fit to serve another tour, potentially for the Marines. And I want to read to you the letter. It was signed May 9th. It's written by Sergeant Major Emmy Sprague. Here's what it says, quote, from the U.S. Marine Corps to Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi. You are among the elite citizens of our nation who, if needed, are ready to answer the call to defend our freedom. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Well, yeah, he would be ready to answer the call to defend our freedom if somebody would bust him out of that prison in Mexico. Once a Marine, always a Marine? Yeah, but, buddy, I don't know how to tell you this. Life is a two-way street. He's always there for us. You call him to duty, he's there. Now that he's effectively been kidnapped by the Mexican government, what are you doing about it? Where's our Secretary of State? Where's Jean-Francois? Where's Chuck Hagel? Where's the dear leader? Where's Joe Biden? But they are sending troops. I want you to know. No, the cavalry is coming, my friends. 80 troops have been sent. The only problem is they're not going to Mexico. I swear to you, God is my witness. They're going to Chad. Where's Chad? In Africa. Why are we sending troops to Africa, Jeff? Because it borders Nigeria. And so rather than sending troops to rescue Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, one of our own, an American, a Marine, a man who twice served in Afghanistan, put his life on the line for us. We have sent 80 of our personnel, military personnel, to Chad to try to find and rescue those nearly 300 Nigerian girls abducted by the Islamist group Boko Haram. You see, if you're a Nigerian, the Americans come potentially to your rescue. But if you're an American, and especially a Marine, blank you. 6-1. That's, in a nutshell. You want to understand the administration? This is it. If you're a foreigner and a stranger for a politically correct cause, send in the cavalry. Benghazi, niet. Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, niet. And here's the cherry on the sundae. Over the last couple of days, you're not hearing this from the mainstream media, with Marxist Muchel with her hashtag diplomacy, hashtag bring back our girls, you think this has worked on Boko Haram? Over the last 48 hours, they have conducted multiple attacks and bombings that have killed over 120 people all across Nigeria. So apparently, the hashtag bring back our girls isn't quite working on the Al-Qaeda Islamic fundamentalists in Nigeria? I don't know. Maybe we should try hashtag bring back Andrew. Bring back our Marine. Maybe we'll have better luck in Mexico. Brenda, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on the Kuhner Report. Go.
Hey, Jeff, first of all, thank you so much for having a clear understanding of U.S. history and politics. There's so many people that don't have a clue, and I really love listening to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Brenda.
I'm a first-generation American, and my father was from Poland. And my father taught us a lot of things. First and foremost, to love the country that he fought so hard to get to and fought for. And he brought us to the UN as kids. He brought us to the Empire State Building. He brought us to the Statue of Liberty. And then when I was in my early 20s, he brought me to Poland. And it was 1978. And I got to see things that I'm experiencing again in my life, and it's very scary. I saw my relatives sit at a dinner table saying, "Don't talk too loud, the neighbors will turn us in." I saw my uncle say, "I wrote about the people in the Warsaw Ghetto and how we filtered them through and got them out, and the books were banned." They talked about waiting in line just for one shirt. It didn't matter what color or what size, they just needed a shirt. This is scary to be turning 60 this year and realizing that I'm now experiencing the beginnings of the life my father fled from. So I think we need Lech Walesa back, and I think we need solidarity in this country, and stop thinking about what the Kardashians are doing, and start thinking about the country we once had.
Thank you very much for that call, Brenda. And please call back again. 617-266-6868 is the number. Brittany, can I squeeze one more call? John, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, John.
There are two quick points. One is, it's not limited just to the government. I mean, if you try to unseat an incumbent, even at the state level, you hear from businesses that they don't want to go against, what's the incumbent because they're fearful for their livelihoods. And second, we need a plan. The plan needs to be, it's difficult to take on the deal leader at the highest levels, but everyone can do this same thing, in their local communities. Go to the town meetings, find out what's going on, and get engaged, because that's where we can have the most impact. And one or two or three voices at a town meeting will have impact. And soon, before you know it, we will have an army that's turning back the clock and bringing us back to our republic.
Amen. Speak out now before it's too late. Get involved before it's too late. My friends, let me ask you this double-barrel question. Is communism working? Is communism good for America? That's what some Democrats are now saying. And is it time to rescue Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, trapped in a Mexican jail? And if we're sending 80 troops to help girls in Nigeria, why aren't we sending troops to rescue Andrew Tamarisi? Is it time for an old-fashioned jailbreak? I want to hear from you, Boston. 617-266-6868, 951 on the great WRKO. More with your calls next. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 957 here on the great WRKO. Another reminder, my friends, this Saturday, 2 p.m. at the steps of the State House, I will be holding a major rally to free Justina Pelletier. Please, members of Kuhner Country, give Justina a birthday gift she'll never forget. Let's all meet up and have a huge rally to demand that she be released from DCF and back to where she belongs, with her parents. Tom, you're up next. Welcome.
Jeff Kuhner, 680 RKO. That's always red, white, and blue dynamite, baby.
Thank you, Tom. What's on your mind, buddy?
Jeff Kuhner, God bless you and your family and all our fallen military people this month and this weekend. Jeff, we have a choice. We can listen to Bill the shill for big government, or we can listen to Brenda, our participant in history. Jeff, this doesn't end well. I mean, you are our expert on history. The best case scenario of 17.5 trillion deficits, 130 trillion in long-term unfunded, is a collapsed government, as was with the Soviet Union. The worst case you can describe to us, Pol Pot, Mao, This is the worst case, Jeff. There's only one way. The Honorable Alan West told us that we have a Congress full of a bunch of communists. There's only one way to push back, Jeff. Kuhner, Savage, Limbaugh, Levin, Hannity, get together, give us a conservative candidate, bypass the Republican nomination. They're going to give us a softball, Jeff. We got to get it done.
Tom, we need a united front. My friends, if we don't hang together, we will certainly hang separately. 617-266-6868 has been the number. I got to go, my friends. I'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same place. And remember, together, we're beating liberals one day at a time.